Well, good afternoon, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana Weather. Welcome to this latest edition of Beyond the Weather. It is Sunday, May the 18th, 2014. It's a little shy of 6 p.m. Eastern Time here, and it is a gorgeous day. In fact, I'm looking out my window right now. You can't see it, but it is just an absolutely beautiful day here. If it looks like I'm squinting, it's because I've got bright sunshine coming in the window. And boy, after all the rain that we've had the past week or so, my goodness, that was ridiculous, wasn't it? You know, most of us had, several inches of rain out of that. And thankfully, all of that is behind us now. Hopefully, the streams are starting to come down for you a little bit more with the dry weather we have had. And, the good thing is we've got a few more dry days ahead of us. We've got some chances of rain a little bit later on this week, really beginning Wednesday and then Thursday and Friday, kind of an unsettled pattern. But it's only 20 to 40% chances of rain, so it's not like it's an overly strong chance. So we'll talk about that more in depth here in a second. We'll also talk a little bit later in this video tonight about what we can expect in the month to come in June. And we'll also take a look about what the seasons may hold ahead for us, just to kind of give you some more of the longer range pattern. Haven't had a chance to dive into that lately with y'all because it's been more of an active weather pattern. So we'll talk a little bit more about that tonight. All right, today's video update, and pardon me, I've got to rear back on my screen here a little bit so I can even see the screen. I've got a glare coming into this thing. I tell you, this sun is great, but it does mess up your screen a little bit. Today's video update is sponsored by Metal Magic in Washington. You can give Chad a call at 698-8555 for all of your paintless dent repair needs. Now, folks, we don't have any severe weather in the forecast just yet, but possibly a little bit later on. You know as well as I do, severe weather can strike at any month of the year. So write that number down and we'll give them a call if you have any hail damage. Folks, they do a great job at paintless dent repair. They're PDR Nation certified. So when you take your car to them, you know you're going to get the deal. You know you're going to get a good deal. They're going to do the job right. All right. Tell them Southern Indiana Weather sent you. All right. Crystal clear skies out there pretty much right now. You can see all the rain pretty much down to our south. If I do a little bit of zooming here on it, we'll take a look at some temperatures here around the area. If we can get it to cooperate with us anyway, we will. Here you go, and you can see, very, very nice around the area. Let me just go ahead and put the brakes on here for us. 66 degrees here currently in the Jasper area. Man, you can't beat that. 65 in Evansville, even all the way into the 60s up in Bloomington. And again, I've got the satellite on here, and you can hardly see a cloud in the sky. This is great. Now, tonight will be a different story as far as temperature-wise. Here is your Smile Center Plan Your Night forecast, talking about overnight lows. It's going to be another cold one. Mostly clear skies tonight again, but notice most of us going down into the low to mid 40s. The cool spot again up around the Columbus, maybe even the Bloomington area, may hit the 39 to 40 degree mark. But most of us, as you go a little bit further south here towards the river, looks like we're going to hit probably the 45 mark or so, somewhere around there again. So no worries about frost, at least for us here in the very southern tip of the state again tonight. But nonetheless, it's going to be a pretty cool night. So you'll need a jacket tomorrow when you send the kids out. All right. Let's talk about the week ahead and about what we can expect. Here's what we got going on right now. High pressure is sort of large and in charge. But as I advance this slide in motion, here whether we go on Monday night, the Euro model I'm showing here wants to bring the chance of some light precipitation. GFS and Canadian do not bring that, and that's a little too far south. The parent low is way up here. We've got a front that's going to stall out, but it's going to be well to our north. I'm not anticipating any precipitation here on the Monday night. I'm not sure that I just don't buy that. I do think we got some precipitation to work with a little later in the week. By the time we get here into Wednesday, that's whenever we've got the cold front starting to move into our area a little bit more. I'll show you here in just a second. And that's when we start to really get a decent chance. In fact, by the time we go into Wednesday night into the overnight hours, it looks like we may have a pretty good shot at some accumulating rain on there on the order of probably an inch or less. Then that quickly moves out of here. On Thursday, we get more of anything that happens on Thursday looks more isolated, same way with Friday. And then we'll start to be in the free and clear for it as far as that goes for the weekend again as high pressure starts to go large and in charge. Let's take a look at the weather maps just to give you an illustration. I know these maps are helpful to see the precipitation, but they don't show you the fronts very easily. If you get a trained eye like me, you can see them by where the isobar lines intersect, but most of us don't have that issue. Most of us can't do that, so I think this will be a little easier for you to see. What we're looking at here is our predicted surface map on on Wednesday, and you can see we've got a warm front that's moved through. That's going to surge our temperatures up into the 80s. In fact, it's going to be a pretty warm day. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of us hit a lot of us hit the mid 80s for part of this week. All right, but you've got a cold front that's going to be moving into the north. Now, between the day on Wednesday and into Thursday, here's what we look like on Wednesday morning. Here's what we look like on Thursday morning. That cold front has moved to our south. So that's why I say Wednesday night we have the better chances that cold front starts to advance and move into our direction on Wednesday evening and into the overnight hours. We have a better shot at precipitation. Thursday, it's still around in our area, so during the morning time, we start to see some more of those isolated showers, probably clearing out to just a few popcorn pop-up showers here and there during the afternoon hours on Thursday. And then by Friday, what we can see is that cold front is moving well to our south. Again, anything that we get is more isolated by the time the weekend comes in. High pressure is really pushed this out of the way. Stall down to the south and we'll give them some rain to deal with, but I think we're going to dry out by this particular point in time. How much rain we can expect? Well, here you go. You can see a decent little amount for some of us, maybe an inch for some areas, but on the order of a few hundredths of an inch to maybe a little bit more than an inch. So not multiple inches of a soaking gully washer type of rain like we did have, but certainly enough rain to cause the ground to be a little bit wet again. All right, let's take a look at temperatures. This is nice to report. With temperatures where we've had in the low 40s, in fact, it got down to 39 cold degrees here at the weather station here in Huntingburg last night. Very cold night, but the good news is we've got some warm temperatures coming on. We've warmed up nicely into the upper 60s today, and that warm temperatures are going to continue going on. Here's what the GFS ensembles are saying as far as temperatures go for, well, really the next 2 weeks. This takes us all the way out into Monday, June 2nd, and you can see the 80s, mid to upper 70s a couple of times, but for the most part, the 80s return. So that's going to be a welcome change. We're getting into that point in time where getting close to 80 degrees should be our normal high. In fact, as we end the month of May, we will end with 80 degrees in a normal high. So we're starting to get more along those lines. But let's talk about what we can expect from here on out. What I want to show you, this is the CFS2 model. It's kind of a controversial model because, anytime you're forecasting for more than a couple of weeks at a time, you start to, you start to lose value in the model. There is value in this model. It's not to say that it's totally worthless, but we also have to take it with a grain of salt because you know as well as I do that I've forecasted weather systems and talked to you about things sometimes a week in advance, but then they change very often over the course of that week. We're talking this forecast out to 45 days, and what we're looking at here specifically is temperature anomalies over the next 45 days. So we take everything with a grain of salt. We're not necessarily looking at specific temperatures. What we're looking at here is a pattern, because the pattern that we have been locked into all winter long has been this sort of up and down pattern, has it not? We go above normal for a very short period of time, and then we go below normal for a little while. Something big comes in through the jet stream, takes a nosedive south. We have a big weather system that comes through with it, and then we go below normal for a few days, or maybe even a good extended period over some of this of what we've seen, and then we go back to a little bit more normal, and then the pattern starts to repeat itself again. Well, right now we're coming out of that below normal pattern, and we're starting to go into an above normal pattern potentially over the next couple of weeks. But what can we expect beyond this? Has anything changed? Is the pattern going to break down? Because we've been in this pattern since about the October-November time frame, and it's just been one of those up and down, way more. I mean, we always get some ups and downs, but this has been way more than usual on our ups and downs. So let me just show you. We'll take this in the 5-day chunks. What this is forecasting out all the way through the end of June, basically. And what I want to show you, just look at the color bar on the side of your charts. The warm colors that you see over here in the oranges and the reds and these brighter warmer colors, that's where you get the above normal temperatures. When you go into the greens and the blues and then the purples, the cooler colors, again, cooler weather. So let's just take a look at that. All right, so here's where we are right now, and we're going out of this cooler pattern. We're starting to go into an above normal pattern again, and then watch what happens very quickly after that. After the June 2nd time frame comes through, we start to go in a cooler pattern again. Now we didn't see that what I showed you because what I showed you on the 15-day temperature spread only covers to June 2nd, and it looks above normal. But the models here are indicating that we could potentially go into a below normal pattern here, potentially 4, 5, 6 degrees of Celsius of an anomaly below normal. And if that's the case, 1 degree Celsius is roughly equal to 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly, if you do the math. So if we go 4 degrees Celsius, we're talking 7, 8 degrees potentially below normal that we could expect as a temperature anomaly. And so if our normal temperature would be close to 80 degrees in this time frame, then that's saying then we're going to be in the maybe near the 70-degree mark, 70 to low 70s potentially is what this saying is suggesting that could be our high temperature. So there's a below normal pattern, but then what I want you to see is that clears out, and there we go, above normal pattern again. So above normal stays above normal for a while, but then here comes into the below normal pattern, starts to maybe go decently below normal again before we moderate and go into above normal pattern. What I want you to see is absolutely nothing has changed in there, and that's exactly what this model is showing, is absolutely nothing has changed. The pattern is still there, and it looks like we're going to stay in that up down pattern again. So we'll see some good periods where we go into the above normal. We'll see some periods where we go more into the below normal pattern, and maybe even significantly below normal. So significantly below normal for us, where we've had high temperatures in the low 60s the past couple of days and starting to warm up out of that. Well, that's very much below normal when our average high temperature today is 78, and to end the month of May, it's about 80, 81 degrees, as I said. So again, if we go, it could be that by the time we get into the beginning of June, maybe we go down into the upper 60s to the low 70s again, based on the way the data is saying. Now, is that set in stone? Absolutely not. But what I want you to see here is the pattern. Nothing has changed, so expect us to go below normal, pretty significantly below normal sometime down the line here again. But the good news is, with the sun angle higher, and the later we get into starting into the summer months, significantly below normal becomes the 60s and 70s, which, in the summer months, we will take that. All right. Now, let's look beyond this a little bit more. All right, let's talk about El Nino. I've mentioned this a time or two that we are underneath of an El Nino watch. An El Nino watch just means conditions are favorable for an El Nino, and I do believe that we're going to see one develop. What you're looking at here, remember an El Nino, we're just looking at it's warmer than normal sea surface temperatures at a very specific region in the equatorial region of the Pacific Ocean, really kind of off the coast of South America over a little ways, and that's what the Nino 3.4 region is, as we call it. And what the black line is the analyzed data. 0 is where we should be. That's just kind of the neutral, the La Nada, sometimes we call it. It's just El Nino neutral. If we go into the negative, that's La Nina. If we go into the positive, that's El Nino. But it needs to be consistent. In other words, we've got to be above 0.5 degrees of Kelvin of an anomaly to be able to call it 3 months consecutive of that, to be able to call it El Nino. 3 months consecutive negative half a degree Kelvin or more for 3 months consecutive to be called a La Nina. All right, that's complicated to explain, but what I want you to see is we can't say we're under an El Nino yet because it's only been almost 2 months, but I want you to see the dashed line is the predicted where it's going to go. It's kind of the predicted mean, and all of these blue and red lines are the different ensemble members. So this is what the different models are saying. All of them are pointing to an El Nino event. Now, an El Nino almost looks certain at this point. In fact, we started here at the beginning of April with this El Nino event, and here it is late May, and we've still got it going on. By the time we get to April, May, June, by the end of June, if at the beginning of July it's still here, we'll be able to call it an El Nino for sure, and that's exactly what this is predicting to say. So what kind of an effect will that have on us? Well, probably not a whole lot this summer because the El Nino is still developing. If this stays in for a year or more, like some of the El Ninos have in the past, remember the 97, 98 El Nino that we had, that was a very strong El Nino. That gave us a very hot and dry summer, and but this will definitely have an effect on us this winter. So going into the longer term, if this El Nino does get as strong, even into above plus 1, plus 1.5 degree Kelvin anomalies, oh my goodness, that's going to be a very strong El Nino, and that will be the winter that could have been. All the snow that we had this winter, we will probably get next to no snow next winter if this takes place. So that's something that we'll be watching over the coming months because it certainly will have an effect on us. And by the way, this up and down pattern that we've been on, yeah, this will knock us out of that and become more of a persistent pattern most likely. It's probably going to take something like this to knock us out of that pattern that we've been on. We'll monitor and see how it goes, but definitely over the coming months it's going to get very interesting. So keep it right here. We'll have more for you. All right, let's go to southernindianaweather.com really quick, and we'll take a look at your Eubelor Sun 7-day forecast. You can go to the homepage and then just click on 7-day forecast, and you can see we're going up to mostly sunny and 74 tomorrow, back into the 80s for Tuesday and Wednesday. By the time you get to Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday, you got some isolated isolated chances with that cold front kind of hanging around the area, but then again, pretty pleasant for the weekend. All right, that is it for this edition of Beyond the Weather. Don't forget our mobile app is out for Android. Go to the Google Play Store and type in Southern Indiana weather, and you can download the app. Should be out for iPhone in a week or two. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed. That's it for today, folks. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite. Thanks for watching this latest edition of Beyond the Weather. We will see you in the morning for the latest QuickCast. Have a great night, folks.